What's going on, guys? Slacn here, and today I wasn't feel like making a Minecraft video, so I'm gonna be telling you a story about the first time I got drunk with my buddies, went to Great America, and got absolutely fucked over. So this all started freshman year. I had my group of guys, and one of them mentioned that he had an alcohol plug. So, we got all excited. We gave him some money for him to go get stuff. He went out, met up with the guy, and I think he picked up a bottle of vodka, some Jack Daniels, and then just a 12 pack of IPOs or something like that. And, so we're all excited. We were hyped for the weekend. And Friday comes along, which is the day that we were doing it. And we had a couple hours to spare, so I was with my buddy Brian. And we were sitting on top of this parking garage near the school. Now, this is the place where we usually hang out. People don't come to bother us. So that day, we decided to bring my pen and, get high before the festivities begin, I guess you could say. So Brian and I, we take a couple of hits, and we're just sitting there kind of fucked up, just lying on top of the parking garage, listening to Sublime. It's a good time. And so then we get a text from our guy, or the other two friends, and they're ready to come and meet up with us and start drinking before we go to Great America. So, we meet up with them. They come up to the top of the garage. They got all the alcohol. And we all sit down, listen to music, and, start getting a little fucked up. So, I think I went through probably 3 IPAs and then drank some vodka. So I was fucked. The other two guys, one of them, he was acting like he was fucked, but, there's always that one friend in the group that drinks shit and then acts more fucked than anyone else. But one of our friends, I'll call him T for now. He took the bottle of vodka when there was about a fourth of the vodka left. He decides to sit there and down the entire rest of it, which I don't think he understood how fucked up he was about to get. And you'll understand later in the story how absolutely fucked he was. He had no idea. So after he downs it, he decides to take the bottle, and like any normal person, he decides to fucking throw it on the ground of the parking garage, and it shatters into a million pieces and makes a loud crash. And we're all like, what the fuck? But we're all drunk as shit, so we're all like, yeah, let's get it. Let's go to Great America. Like, this is gonna be like lit. So before we go, Thomas decides to pee off the side of the parking garage, which is great. And then so as we were walking out of the parking garage, one of our friends screams like, "Oh my God, this girl. She was calling the police. I saw her." And in reality, she was probably calling her mom or some shit. So we grab our friends and we're like, "Oh shit, we're gonna get caught." So we start sprinting down the side of the road, trying to get to the train station, because we were going to take the train down to Great America. So we start sprinting as fast as we can, and one of our friends is, stumbling like shit. So we're like, come on, like, we gotta go, like, we're gonna get caught. So we get to the train. At this part, me and my other friend, we literally don't remember anything from this point on, and that's because of the amount of alcohol we had drinking, and I'm assuming I was a little crossed at the time too, so just couldn't think quite straight. So we got into the train, and I remember my friend thought it was funny, so he started making these really loud, like, screeching noises on the train, like in between the two cars. And he starts like yelling and making these weird ass sounds, and people are looking through the windows like, what the fuck are these 4 retards doing? And he's just making sounds. I remember this because my friends told me afterwards. But so then we get off the train after everyone's looking at us like, what the fuck, like, thank God they're gone. And we sit there, and while my most sober friend is calling the Uber, I decide to lie down on the ground and start to fall asleep. And this is, I think it's about 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock at night, so it's pretty dark. Like it's you know, you can't really see shit, and it's freezing out, and I'm lying on a sidewalk with my other drunk friends yelling and saying shit. So you just imagine that image. It was we were fucked. So my friend gets the Uber, pulls up, we get into the car, and we're obviously like drunk out of our fucking minds. The guy in the front seat is just sitting there quietly while my friends in the back are like yelling and I'm falling over, and one of us starts singing, fucking songs, and it was just I remember seeing the videos. It's holy fuck, we were gone. Um so he drives us there. One of the guys, one of my friends who had $50 on him and he was drunk as shit, he felt bad and felt like he was gonna say something. So he was like, "Hey, like I'll give you a $50 tip." And we're all like, "What the fuck? Like, no, you don't give an Uber a $50 tip. What are you doing?" So then he doesn't give him the tip. The guy doesn't accept, and we're good. We get out of the car, and it's night, it's late, and we start walking down the road to Great America. And there's still a bunch of people, and it's late, and the reason there were a bunch of people is because they were doing this thing called Halloween Haunt, which, if you've ever heard of it, it's basically like an event where you go and they have people scaring you and all these scare zones and stuff like that. So we thought it was going to be fun and get scared out of our minds. um, so we begin to walk up to the front gates where there's security, which is like, okay, this is the last step before we get to go in and have, a bunch of fun. So we go through. I'm acting as sober as I fucking can. I'm standing on my 2 feet, trying not to wobble. And I think they said, "All right, you're good to go." And I'm like, "All right, am I good to go?" And they're like, "Yeah, like you're fine." So then I walked through, and I was like, "Okay, thank God, I'm good." And then one of the security guards points to me and says, "Hey, you," like, and pulls me over to the side as well as my friend, and we sit down. And I was stuck with the guy that was super drunk that chugged the quarter bottle of vodka. So I sit down, he sits down, and one of the security guards comes up to us and starts, talking to us. So they ask, like, "Hey, are you guys drunk?" And we're like, "No, man, like, we're not drunk. We just want to come here to Great America and have some, fun." And he's, obviously not buying it. And then my buddy next to me, he's drunk out of his fucking mind and doesn't want to get caught. He's like, "No, I mean, we drank like 3 fucking beers, but we're not gonna do it again, and we're sorry. We won't fuck around or get in trouble or anything." So then they sit there and they ask for another security guard to come and talk to us, because they obviously weren't gonna let us into the park at this point. And the security guard comes up to us and starts talking, and we're like, "Hey, like, we don't want to get into trouble. Can we just leave? Like, I understand we're not going to be able to go into the park at this point." So they're like, "Yeah, just don't come back. Like, you guys exit through here, whatever." And we're like, "Okay, like, at least we didn't get caught by cops or security or anything bad." So we walk through the gate, and because we're still completely fucked, and it seems like physically obvious that we decide to lie on a stretch of grass that's in between these two pathways where all these people are walking into the gates. So we lie there, and we're just lying down, like, we're obviously fucked. And we're like, "Okay, thank God, like, that was kind of a close call." So we're sitting there probably 10-15 minutes, and then I look over, and there are two cops that are walking towards us, and they start standing around the side of the grass as if they're about to come and start talking to us. So my friend Thomas is basically passed out, but I'm like, "Man, like, we gotta go, like, the cops are right here. I don't want to get caught or anything." So then I get him up, I pick him up, and then we start stumbling and like walking away from the cops as fast as we can. And we get to the crosswalk, and just as we start to get into the middle of the road, which is on the other side, we practically be safe, the cops say, "Hey, you two, like, get over here." And they call us over, and they sit us down into the sidewalk again, and the two cops are there, and one of them's phoning on the walkie-talkie talking to another cop. So we're freaking out, and my buddy is he I think he literally started to cry because he was so drunk. He would never cry in a situation like this, but he started to cry, and he started saying stuff like, I want to go to college, like I don't want this on my permanent record, like oh my god, my parents are gonna kill me, and he was literally crying to the officers, and like he was talking super loud and making kind of a scene. And at this point, I was sobering up a little because we had drinking, a couple hours before, and I definitely wasn't as fucked as him. So I was talking to the cops, and he was sitting there, my buddy, and the cops started asking for our parents' information so that they could take us home safely. But that would mean that we got caught and that we were fucked and that we wouldn't get trusted again for months following. So he calls up his parents, and they weren't actually mad at him immediately. They were like, "Okay, we'll come, we'll pick you up. Just stay calm. Everything's gonna be okay." And they get there, and the cops. Well, before they get there, the cops ask me for my information. Now this is when I was a little tricky with them, I guess. I'm just proud that I got out of this. Um, so they asked me for my parents' information, and I'm like, my dad is on a business trip, and my mom is out of town right now. So my mom's boyfriend is staying home, and he's watching us, but my mom and my dad currently aren't here. So I was like, do you want me to, call my stepdad and have him come? And because he's not legally a guardian of mine, he couldn't call my parents or my stepdad. So none of my parents were contacted at this point, and my buddy's friend's parents arrived, and the cops said, "Okay, could you just get a ride with your buddy and get home safe?" So I'm like, "Yeah, yeah, that should work." So then I get into the car with him and his parents, and I'm acting as sober as I possibly can, because at this point no one except for my buddies and I and the cops know that I'm drunk, but no parents or anyone know. So I'm sitting in the back seat, and my friend is obviously like fucking. He's like crying, or not crying anymore, but he's very upset. And his parents are telling him to calm down, and they're starting to ask like humorous questions, I guess, to get his spirit up because he was so upset. And I was acting sober, and I said, yeah, I was watching Thomas, making sure that he was okay, and I was explaining that he was super worried about college being on a permanent record and stuff, but I was very thankful that none of this was gonna permanently be on our records or anything, so it wasn't gonna do any significant damage. Um, so their parents, were arriving near my house, and their parents were like, "Your parents already, know about this stuff, right? Like we don't have to come in and talk to them." And I'm like, "Yeah, they know I'm gonna be in a bunch of trouble, so you don't have to worry about it." And then I say goodnight to Thomas, goodnight to their parents, and I walk home or walk inside my house, and my mom is asleep. I go upstairs and I go to bed, and I never got caught. Uh, Meanwhile, while my buddy and I were getting, patted down by the cops and asked all these questions, the other two drunk friends had gone into Great America. They were let in, and they were absolutely like fucking terrified by the Halloween haunt event going on. So because people were running at them and they were getting lost in the dark and it was just scary, they they were running around having fun at first, but then it was like a nightmare apparently. So they decided to leave and meet up with us the next day, I guess. So yeah, that was probably the stupidest story. Actually, no, I have another drunk story, but I'll save that for another time. Um, but the next day, in the newspaper, it mentioned the account of like two drunk kids like running around Great America, and I was we were low key hyped that we got into the newspaper for that shit. And my buddy ended up being okay with his parents. It took a while to gain some trust, but he was okay. And I and the two other friends actually, we never got caught. Um, it was a crazy night, and I don't think I would ever do that again. I think it was just a stupid freshman idea that I highly don't recommend doing to any of you guys watching. And just be careful when you're getting fucked on alcohol, because the choices you make, I mean, sometimes people believe they can control themselves, but oh my god, all the regrettable things I've done while drinking, it's definitely not worth it. So be careful with what you're doing and putting into your bodies. And if you do want to see another video where I tell another story, let me know, because I probably have way more stories than you think of getting fucked on not just alcohol and weed. But yeah, give me some recommendations, because I've got some stuff to tell. If you did enjoy this video or the gameplay, I don't know why you would be here just watching the gameplay, but feel free to leave a like and comment, because, you know, I want to hear your feedback about getting fucked up. So yeah, hope you guys did enjoy the video, and I will see you in the next one. Peace out.